Welcome back, everyone. We are here with GoodNo1se running some It Takes Two, any percent solo co-op. I will now pass it back over to Rytro. Off you go.
All right. If you caught my previous run, I did say that you haven't caught the last of me yet. But that's not important. What is important is the run going on now. We've got It Takes Two, any percent solo co-op. You boys want to give some more information about the run?
Absolutely. So, hello, I'm GoodNo1se. I'll be the runner for this. So the way solo co-op works is I'll be playing the character on the left side of the screen, May, with my keyboard and mouse right here, and I'll be playing the right side of the screen. That's Cody. I'll be playing him on controller, and I'll be controlling both of those characters at the same time.
All right. Well, then if you guys are all ready, just give me a cue to start the timer.
All right, I'm gonna count it down, and I'm gonna deafen during the loading screen and hand it off to my commentators. So I guess here we go. Start the timer in 3, 2, 1, go.
Best of
Hello,
luck.
I'm Alien God. This is my co-host, who is Viper.
What's
Um,
up?
This run starts off quick. We just found a new glitch within the last week or so. So what he's gonna come up here and do, he's gonna grab this lever, and it's gonna spawn these fuses. And we usually need 3 of these to get into the little fuse holes over there. But when we grab it, we're gonna put it down, and then he's gonna reset checkpoint like you just saw, and it's gonna put the character into a glitch state. So you see he just falls from the ceiling here, and he's gonna he just pulls it out, and the game just thinks he has 3. And we just skip the first subchapter in about 30 seconds, and it's really quick.
Yeah, very nice by GoodNo1se there. That trick just came out, so him learning it quick enough for the marathon, getting it down consistent is really impressive. So there's a couple movement mechanics in this game that take place right off the bat. What you're going to see a lot of in this run is called a slide jump. So whenever you slide in this game by sprinting and then going into a crouch state, you can jump out of the slide, and it gives you an extreme amount of height and distance compared to any other jump in the game. A lot of the puzzles in this game were not really, or at least they didn't seem to be designed to accept slide jumps into that repertoire. So using those really does speed up the game. And you can see he just slide jumps into a checkpoint, which is a single player checkpoint. There's certain checkpoints in this run that only one character has to get to activate, and there's some checkpoints that require both characters. So anytime one character is required, he's only required to play the one character, get to the checkpoint, and then once he restarts checkpoint, it'll bring the other character to where they're supposed to be.
And there's a lot of that in normal play too, where you'll both just make a mad dash to the checkpoint and kind of YOLO it and just hope one of you gets it.
And during that restart checkpoint that he did, since our auto splitter does not time loads, he's able to access the menu during loads and not lose any time. So he changed his FPS to 30 very quickly, and that is because the section coming up here at the end of this boss fight where you need to spam a button, for some reason is far accelerated on lower FPS. There's one other part in the game way at the end that does the same thing. So you're gonna see it here. Just instantly suctions to the eyeballs.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in this game that are tied to FPS for one reason or another. Most of them are tied to high FPS. There's some certain wall climbs that you get jump resets off of, that the window is a lot larger with a higher FPS, and then you have some things where you're gonna clip out of bounds. You're gonna see something later with the frog that he's gonna do, but there's 2 spots in the game where we want low FPS, so we just change it real quick. So this is depths now. It's just really good movement. We just jump out of bounds almost right away, and then it's hard to see, and he makes it look so easy. It's This is the entire chapter depths pretty much. He just skipped probably like 20 to 30 minutes of normal gameplay there, just in about 30 seconds. And so right here there's a boss fight, that toolbox down below. But to initiate the fight, you're supposed to both interact with the handle down at the bottom. But they store his hitbox off screen until you do that, and we found it. And so he just killed the boss without spawning it. And that's one of my favorite skips in the game. I think it's just so cool.
Very crazy. The progression of that boss fight has been one of the most insane things in this game so far, as far as routing goes. And then this level is very interesting in itself. As soon as he spawns in, he actually goes backwards along this rail, which is a huge pain because the rail forces you forward. So the entire time you're trying to go backwards, the rail is trying to force you forward. And getting the movement down for this is one of the things that a lot of beginners struggle with. This is a really tough trick, and he just made it with ease. He's doing very good here in this shed. So now all he has to do is get that checkpoint to activate the ending trigger. If he didn't go backwards, he wouldn't have a trigger necessary to end this level. So he just goes to the end now, and that is the end of the first chapter, Shed, in about 4 minutes.
Yeah, so for a lot of these parts, I'm sure when some people hear the name solo co-op, they think that a lot of this is going to be one at a time, and for some things it is. But this isn't like really like a meme category for GoodNo1se. This is like what he does. Like his record right now for solo co-op is a 152, and that's better than a lot of people's co-op times. He is ridiculously good at this stuff. I don't know how he does it. He's just so coordinated. Like here, like you'll see, like it's some tricky movement, but he just will bang it out with one and then the other. He tries to minimize sections like this as much as possible throughout the run. There's a lot of parts that he just tries to overlap the characters as much as he can when it comes to movement, because even if it's just slightly slower than he would doing it one at a time, like individually, doing them at the same time, it's so much quicker in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, there's some parts that are very mechanically challenging that you just can't do with two characters at a time, where you need to push, 4 buttons at a time on the keyboard. Like, you can't push 4 buttons on the keyboard, 4 buttons on the controller, and steer both characters at the same time. So he has to do them one at a time. But obviously, he does his best to practice anywhere he can to control both of them at the same time, like right here. And he uses any time where a character is like sliding down that slide, for example. He doesn't actually need to control the character. The character will continue moving forward, so he has time to gain control of the other character. This is a really interesting subchapter with a lot of out of bounds coming up. It's going to be very dark.
I'm getting spooky vibes from this place.
Oh, you got that. Nice.
Please turn back.
Yeah, so he's moving towards right now. He's moving towards a mini game, and so this is a good time to explain what mini game warps are. It's what separates any percent from just normal out of bounds. So when we can go out of bounds and we can reach some mini games before we're intended to, and when we do that, we can load that mini game through the menu, and we can basically reset the game state to what it should be if we were to reach that mini game. And so this has allowed us to skip a lot of like what we thought to be like essential checkpoints and stuff like that. And so this lets us skip like a whole bunch that out of bounds would have had to do. Well, not really. It's just slightly faster in this spot, but there are other spots where it's like the mini game is just, it lets you skip so much. Like there's a subchapter at the end that saves like 18 minutes. Or, well, no, like probably like 14. But yeah.
It's a lot less now because the oob category has been routed a little bit more, so that the gap between any percent and oob has closed a little bit, but it still definitely saves like at least 10 minutes in the last section, which is insane.
Oh, true. Yeah.
So this is a part where normally in the regular co-op run, both players would go separate ways, but GoodNo1se does a route that allows him to get a checkpoint on one character and then go out of bounds from the checkpoint to get to where the other character would normally be going for the co-op run. And this is to skip a mini boss fight that's coming up here. normally when you get to this door here, you spin the wheel and you have to fight a wasp with a shield. He just got the checkpoint there. And then doing this out of bounds that he's doing here, after getting that checkpoint, he can hit the trigger at the end of the level and it will actually just take him straight to the next subchapter without having to fight the wasp at all. That saves a decent bit of time.
Yeah, so everything up to that checkpoint that he got there by that radio is what Cody would be doing in a normal run. And then May would already be kind of out where he is right now. Because from Tug of War, there's a way to get out of bounds, like right there. So the May would have gone that way. And so they would have, ideally, they would have met here. So this is like, it's slightly slower for solo co-op to have to do this route, but it's way more manageable for him.
And there that is.
And there it is. It's so clean too. He's on a pacer right now.
Yeah, we got another tough trick right here. This is a single player checkpoint that he needs to reach. So there's little spots in here that you can't even see, but you can reset your jump, and he just did it so well. That trick that he just did was actually incredibly hard. He got it, I think, second try there.
Yeah.
But you're basically just dashing into the wall and praying that you get your jumps back. There's a little more technicality to it than that, but that's the gist of it. And you can reach up to these roots, and finally you can skip this entire section of this subchapter by hitting the end trigger right there.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is a whole lot of nothing now. There's like some slight movement and stuff. It's you can see he's using the mouse to aim with May, because there's these little lava maggots that are falling all around, and if you run into them, they'll bump you back. So you'll see he's aiming with just the mouse so that he can aim, and then he's controlling with the controller. But this is just basically one like big old auto scroller. Basically, you can't go any faster than you have. So if our host has anything, this would be a good time.
It does not look like we have any donations, but I'd like to add that I have never seen this game before. But this looks majorly impressive.
This game is so beautiful, dude. It is actually such a good game. If you guys haven't played it, I mean, it's just a co-op puzzle platformer. Grab a buddy. Only one person has to purchase it. There's a Friends Pass version of the game that you can download for free, and you can play with anybody who owns the game. And the person who owns the game can play with anybody who has the Friends Pass. You're not limited to one player. You can just play with anyone else. So that's really nice. But it's just amazing. It looks great. Can be a little hard on the PC at times, but I'm sure you'd make it through if you've got a decent computer.
Yeah.
If I also may add that anybody curious about donation or charity that this is all for, anything, can do the command !donate in chat.
So he's coming up on a checkpoint here. Now this checkpoint, you don't have to restart checkpoint there, but it turns out that if you do restart checkpoint there, it does teleport the boat a little bit further than you are when you get the checkpoint. And since in our normal timing of the game, it's only counting the in-game time, so the loading screen isn't counted, it's just advantageous all around to just restart checkpoint there. And now he's coming up on the trickiest part of this section, where he needs to navigate around these tornadoes. So we do have a little bit of a route that we take to try to avoid the tornadoes while moving as linear as possible towards the end. So he's going to be trying to do that, and as long as nothing goes wrong, he should be chilling here.
Also worth noting that if you get close enough to these maggot things, there's a lock-on, and GoodNo1se is not using it. He's just shooting them raw. It's just impressive. Yeah, so you see the little circle pop up when he gets within range. But yeah, the first like 6 or 7 he shot, he didn't even need it.
Yeah, that tornado or whirlpool, whatever you'd like to call it, gets very close. Even if you do everything correctly, it's extremely close there. And we're currently in the longest subchapter of the game. This has all been since that wall climb that he did. This has all been one giant sub chapter, so it's a long
Yeah.
part.
It's something we've been trying to look for skips for, but like there's plenty of out of bounds in tree, especially in like even in these parts too. But the thing is that like the boat itself just moves faster than like we can move. So like even if we like do find out of bounds or whatever to like try to skip all this, like the boat is just it's too quick and like it moves in like mostly straight line. So it's like it's hard to like skip it and like make it like faster.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So here's some of the patented GoodNo1se platforming. You're gonna see a lot of prop jump with May. That's not
Unfortunate,
good.
but
Yeah.
it's not so bad. So you can actually snipe this second lantern from very far away, but it is relatively
You gotta-
annoying to do. So he's opted to just platform on forward. He still does snipe it a little bit, but it's definitely safer to do that. So that's understandable.
This must be the squirrel's history.
And now this is just all pure movement for this part. Just trying to get through these dark tunnels as fast as possible. And then he's got a bit of a firefly section that ends with a single player checkpoint. So he's only going to carry May through this section.
Yeah, not really a whole lot of this section either. The back half of tree is really it's just kind of going through the motions except for the two boss fights. But the first like 2 minutes or so of tree is so hectic. There's fresh air and captured, and then the very first part of deeply rooted with that wall climb, very stressful, very reset heavy.
Yeah. So here he's going to try to land. He wasn't able to, which is just a small time save if you get it. But you can actually land on the edges there, and then you can ground pound to fall faster down the hole. So you hit the restart checkpoint a little bit quicker.
How does that help us?
Oh, he donated in the.
And
in
this
the-
is a great time to read his donation.
Yeah, this is straight auto scroller right here.
I think it's trying to throw us off.
All right, we got a $20.69 donation from GoodNo1se, and their message is water.
Yeah, so his whole inside joke, for some reason, whenever he says water, he says water. And that's actually become his Twitch emote at this point. So this is one of those sections, the very few sections in the game as solo co-op, where you can actually take a second to drink some water. So that's probably why he did that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is just about 1 minute and 30 seconds of beautiful scenery.
Yeah, there's a couple spots like this in the game where it just kind of like takes a break and you're just moving so that you can look around. Look at all this stuff. Look at all the colors. All right. So right here, there's gonna be a trick that he's gonna try to go for down at the end of this tunnel. There's more fireflies that spawn, like those blue things that he was jumping out of just before the catfish. And they like load at the very edge of this like cliff up here, and so you need to like time it with both because it's a very tight window to actually land inside them. So you see he's gonna right here. They just
Might be a
spawn.
little late.
Oh,
Just
they
late
missed
on
it with
May. Yeah. Unfortunately, that is a trick that you had to hit with both characters for it to matter. So he's going to lose the time there. Probably about 15 seconds.
Just blind jumps into it.
But yeah, that is that's pretty difficult timing on that trick. You have to time that jump just when the firefly spawns, or else you're not going to get in. So he actually made it with one character and not the other somehow. So unfortunate.
Really been starting to think that this guy was immune to mistakes.
Yeah, that would that is a common belief with the GoodNo1se here.
Yeah.
Honestly, cannot fathom trying to learn this game on 2 different controllers and at the same time. and that just blows my mind every time I watch him. So
Yeah, I'll do co-op with GoodNo1se sometimes, and we'll get to a certain section, and like he'll be, because he mainly plays on keyboard and mouse, and so like we'll get to some sections he's like, I only know how to do this on controller, and he'll like have to switch at like the last second.
yeah, he's insane.
Clean up these
So this part, you just have to kill 5 wasps. Oh, that was actually sick. He actually managed to group them all together. Both times. I actually don't think I've ever noticed him do that in his runs before. But that's an awesome tech. So
I don't think I have either, and I watch him a lot. I think that's something he just came up with recently. It had to be.
That's awesome. He gooped them in such a way that they fell and landed near each other, so that he could kill them all with one shot instead of having to do separate bullets for each.
Yeah, so this is a boss fight that's can be a little janky sometimes, depending on like how you do it. So you gotta put the goop into these little like bubbles in the bottom, and then you gotta blow it up underneath him with May. And it just sometimes the beetle just doesn't behave the way you want it to. Like there is a consistent cycle that you're going for, but if you hit him while he's airborne, he starts to act a little funky. And there's a few good clips in our community of the beetle just being absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, he super clean boss right there, just absolutely textbook. And now we're into another auto scroller that you can make slightly faster by jumping the entire time. Jumping gives you a little speed boost at the start.
Yeah, that was a flawless beetle fight. I didn't see a single thing he did wrong. He got the fast cycle on both of the goo pads or whatever you'd have them called.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's got a donation from, I believe that is a combination of all 3 of his roommates' names. So you can read that out right now, everybody.
All right, we got a $39 donation from, excuse me if I say this wrong, Hegel Schmung Thief.
You got it.
And their message is, if GoodNo1se has million number of fans, I am one of them. If GoodNo1se has 10 fans, I am one of them. If GoodNo1se have only 1 fan, and that is me. If GoodNo1se has no fans, that means I am no more on the earth. If world against the GoodNo1se, I am against the world. I love you. Hashtag GoodNo1se. T.
That is I will say that is a commonly spammed copy pasta at the end of a GoodNo1se run. Alright, we're at the final boss of Tree. After this boss, it's just a little bit of a getaway section. So this boss takes a few minutes, and the mechanics here is that Cody has to put a bunch of goo on each part of the bee, and May has to shoot it to detonate it. The tricks that we found in this section is that the goo does exponentially more damage if you stack it. So instead of just shooting a little bit of goo at a time and just blowing it up, you want to get as much goo on it as possible. You kind of have to get a feel for how much goo you really need to shoot to blow it up in one shot without having to like overdo it and lose time. And this part specifically, the bee cannot take damage until the next saving icon appears, which just did. So you get a little bit of a freebie there by you can goo the entire time before that save shows up, and then May can just shoot it, and you'll almost guaranteed to do enough damage.
This is definitely one of the rougher sections for solo co-op, because this boss fight is pretty intensive, because you don't really get to relax while you're like gooping, because like the May is trying to shoot it, and you have the hammers that are everywhere that are trying to mess you up and stuff, and it's really chaotic. He's done it really clean so far, but I've seen many a run die here because just the bees just were not playing nice. Because with these shields too, you see how they have the shield on the back. At the start of the second phase, he had to deal with that as well, and it's just a lot. It can be a lot, and there's a lot of adaptability that you have to do. You can't just kind of go in here with like I'm going to do the same exact thing that I do every single time. because there's just so much going on. So at least for solo co-op. With co-op, it can kind of be like that, but yeah.
Yeah, with co-op, there's a lot of communication in this part. You have to, Cody usually has a better feel for how much sap is needed to completely damage the part of the wasp. So usually there's a Cody telling the Mei when to shoot, and telling the Mei if there's a shield in the way that needs to be taken care of, and all that goodness is going on in the communications. Luckily, GoodNo1se does both, so he's got it all in his own little head.
Yeah, this B fight is looking really clean so far.
You also may have noticed that we do have safe spots for a lot of the boss fights. So on those sections where there's scissors and B airstrikes happening, he jumps onto an invisible barrier just outside the little doorways, and that's just a safe spot that we found. Yeah, just a little bit low on the damage, so that one should do it. Send it into the last phase of the B fight here. So on this phase, you pretty much just jump against the railing the entire time so that you maintain line of sight with the chain, because the chain is what you need to damage more than anything. It looks like he's not going to opt for the jumping, he's just going to focus on doing damage, which probably makes sense. Yeah.
I know he was trying to do that. Way back, I remember me and him were doing it, and I was showing him how to do it really quick for co-op. And then he tried doing that for solo, and he was like, "This is impossible. No way I can do this." Because you do something very similar to what we saw in the very first chapter, where you were going backwards on the rail, where we just kind of stay in one spot and you just keep jumping backwards, and you can kind of like stay locked onto the chain. But that's just too many fingers for solo co-op, so he has to just settle for circling around the entire thing and dodging the swords as they come and stuff. It just makes it's very stressful for the very last phase of the fight to have to get clean, but he did that really well.
Unfortunately, I think he did end up getting hit by some of those swords on the railing, and I think it lost him just enough damage to where he had to deal with an extra shield spawn, which cost him a few seconds, but I mean, it happens when you're playing both characters. Do the best you can. So there's not a whole lot that goes on in this section. There's a boost function on this plane. Cody's steering the plane, and Mei is shooting any projectiles that are coming towards the plane. And pretty much all you can do in this section is choose the correct paths, which we've just simply tested all the paths and timed them separately, and we've identified which route to take in this section. So all he's doing is choosing the right paths and spamming the boost as soon as he can, and making sure he doesn't die. Running into a wall in this section is big time loss, so if you get careless, it could happen. I've definitely been known to run into some of these walls because I play it too risky, and I get careless in this section. I do know there's a skip near the end of this section, but I don't believe GoodNo1se is.
He said he's not going to do it. It was found within like the last week or so, and it's pretty difficult, and he didn't want to have to learn it and implement it within a week before the marathon, so he's just been practicing this. Unfortunately, though, the alternative is he has to do a Street Fighter-esque fight over the plane, and that means he has to still control the plane while he does it, and that is also very difficult. But we'll see how he does with it. I know he's been practicing it, but it is not an easy section to have to do solo, because you have to fly while fighting, and it's just really rough all around.
It's actually one of my favorite parts of the casual playthrough. Just seeing this part, even though I was Cody in my casual playthrough, seeing this part just like amped me up for the rest of the game when I knew stuff like this was going to be happening.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm a big fighting game fan, and I was playing Mei on my casual playthrough, and I remember I got to this, and I was just like, holy moly, this is so cool.
This game is Oh yeah, so he
so
actually
destroying this is
restarts.
rebinds.
Yeah, he restarts checkpoint to rebind because he can't steer the plane and use his mouse at the same time. So he switches his attack key to R, so that way he can use WASD and R to attack because he
So
can't.
clean.
That was very
so good.
clean. That was very good. He also got the cutscene skip, which is nice.
Yeah, that cutscene skip is hard to get because it's you have like barely any time to get. You have to be almost like frame perfect, not like exactly frame perfect, but you have like almost no time to mistake it. You have to basically buffer it in order to get it.
I want to
And
say
the-
on solo co-op it might be easier, right? Because
Oh,
he
yeah,
might be
it's
able to
yeah,
just buffer.
because you can buffer, yeah.
Mhm.
But it's one of those cutscenes that the game does not expect you to get because if you saw right afterward, the entire level unloaded because they were like, wait a minute, you're not supposed to be able to skip that. So you had to reset checkpoint there at the end in order to put the game where it thought you were supposed to be.
It's actually so silly that they actually added a cutscene skip function for that part, but it's very quick, and if you hit it, it completely breaks the game, and then a restart checkpoint is required to fix the level. It's just funny that an intended part of the game can break it.
Yeah, there's a few parts of this game that are like that where it's just like things are held together with duct tape. It's things that you wouldn't really encounter on a casual playthrough, which is important, but we pick apart this game a lot, and there's just some things that just are like, what? Why is there like that?
So this is we're coming up on the very end of Tree here in a few seconds. He's on great pace so far.
He's
Also,
a fantastic pace.
right when he swings by this grass, it is going to finish the tree section, and he's going to be loading into a few cutscenes that lead to Rose's room, which is the two characters that he's playing. It would be their daughter's room.
Yeah, and Rose's room is really difficult on solo co-op. I've watched a lot of GoodNo1se solo Roses, and it just looks very frustrating. There's a skip coming up here in the next subchapter that is very intensive for both characters, and it's very he does it, he makes it work where he can get one moving without the other, but there's a lot like that goes into it. So in the next section, it's called Spaced Out, and the characters get two new abilities. May gets the ability to walk on these anti-gravity walls, so she can kind of flip gravity however she can in these certain spots. And then Cody gets the ability to grow and shrink as he wants. And we use that to do some really cool stuff with it. So you're gonna see May go upside down right away, and then she's gonna like clip out of bounds like right away, and Cody is going to lower the bridge for her real quick, and then he's gonna go down and he's gonna do another mini game warp so that he can skip the first 3 portals, because they're in the casual playthrough you would have to do these little like gameplay modules where you go into these portals and then you do some cool stuff and then you come back out, and you're supposed to do that 3 times. But we're just gonna go upside down and we're just gonna skip to where we want to be, nice and easy like. And then for the next part, he's gonna take May and he's gonna go back to the beginning to where that where one of these anti-gravity panels are, and he's gonna flip the level on its side, and he's gonna basically use that to go all the way up to the very top where there's a load trigger. And then in the meantime, Cody's going to be doing another glitch that I'm gonna let Hyper explain because I don't play Cody.
Yeah, so Cody's glitch is quite interesting, where he's going to go into one of these portals that you're supposed to solve the intended way. But we're just going to come in here and grab one of these lightning rods, and our goal right now is to smuggle this out of the room. So he's going to place it behind the portal and walk through and spam the interact key, and he can actually grab it during the transition to the back to the hub area, and he's going to smuggle it out, except it does turn invisible, but that doesn't matter for what we need it for. He's going to instantly put it down, shrink, and get underneath it, and now he's going to spam grow and spam the grab key. He got that very quickly.
He did.
And once the screen zooms out like this, that's what we're looking for. So now Cody has shrunken. He has normal physics, but he's in his shrunken state. So his mass is much lower than normal, and he can use this gravity field to slingshot all the way to the top, while May is platforming sideways through the level to get to the top.
So clean. Wow, that was actually textbook.
That was cracked. Took him like 3 attempts at the grab and grow tech thing.
There's no I in teamwork. All right, Doctor.
I mean, this spaced out is phenomenal so far. All that's left in the spaced out subchapter is this boss fight. This is the Moon Baboon boss fight right here.
Watch out!
So the beginning of this boss fight, there's nothing too crazy. The first phase is there's these 3 capsules. It alternates which character needs to stand on the capsule and which targeted by the laser. So one character stands on the capsule, one character gets the laser to hit the capsule, and it does damage to the boss. There's 3 of those in the first phase, and between each capsule you have to do a little bit of dodging, but we found some quote-unquote safe spots that ease up the dodging part just a bit.
Yeah, they just make it where you have to jump in place. That's easy. Because these little like globe things, they just can't reach you. So you just have to jump over the lasers. And it's nice too because you can keep all the globes right there so that they don't cover up the button like it just did there.
Yeah, whatever.
He was,
as long as it
doing that
doesn't
for
kill him.
demonstration purposes. He was in my head.
For sure. Commentator's curse. So now he's just ripping the laser off the UFO and starting the second phase of the boss fight. Second phase is rockets. So they need to run away from these rockets until they run out of fuel, and then they can get on top of the rockets and fly them into the UFO. And there's
the fuel somehow.
Yes, for some reason they're just fine after you get on them. Now I'm curious. I'm curious if he's going to go for the Cody trick here. The Cody on the second rocket can get on top of the UFO, and then May's third rocket would end this phase. And if Cody's on top of the UFO, he can begin the third phase quicker. Yeah, he's not going for it. Honestly, I think it's because it's slower in solo co-op because of the way he alternates the characters. So he would have had to wait too long for May's next rocket to hit Moon Baboon. So I think it's just slower that way.
Yeah.
But right when that hatch opens, Cody can be on top of it, and then it instantly pulls him in. And here we go. We're about to see UFO skip. This is one of the toughest Cody tricks in this run. He actually has to... Normally you navigate this UFO normally. You just do a little bit of platforming, but we found a spot right here where you can jump off screen. The camera does not follow you though. So you have to do this entirely blind, and the camera moves itself, and he just hit it, which is phenomenal. Actually insane. Completely blind skip. Literally, you're going on nothing but remembering what buttons to push, and that is it.
And it's not a straight line either. Like you gotta do some stuff.
Yes, you actually do have to do a lot of maneuvering there. And I honestly, I taught that to him like probably like 2 weeks ago, and I don't think I've seen him miss it since. He's actually insane at it.
He's so good at it. He does it on controller too, which is equally like so impressive.
That might be his best spaced out. I don't know if I've seen him get much cleaner than that. That was insane. That was beautiful.
Yeah, that was really good.
And we're in a hopscotch. This chapter is really fun. A lot of good movement.
Yeah. So we got another minigame warp coming up here. So there's a what he's doing right now is he's just getting to a one-player checkpoint. There's just some platforming across these blocks, and then at the end there's a checkpoint. But then after that, we're gonna have one player maneuver the block things for the rails, and then the other person is going to use that to get out of bounds and then come back inbounds at a minigame so that he can reload there. So you'll see him do that here. You can do this without having the other player move the blocks, but it's just like unnecessary and it's slower overall, especially since you only need one player to get to this minigame. it's just not worth having to do it without the blocks. So yeah, you'll see it's real quick. He comes through here. He's gonna go under this thing right here, and the mini game is just on the horizon over there. You can see it behind that doll. Oh, and he gets the fall slide too. So fall slides are they're like oysters. Actually, I don't know if we've even explained oysters. So basically, edges in this game are really funky, and they give you like a slight speed boost when you slide off of them. And an oyster is when you slide out of the speed boost and you jump out of it like right away, and it sends you flying. You've probably seen him do it where he just gets like a bunch of acceleration out of nowhere. But a fall slide is just holding the slide, and they're a lot of fun to hit. And then you just slide off stuff. And you just get a ton of speed. You can carry it for as long as you can. Yeah, so that was really clean.
That was perfect. And they're going into another section. This is still technically the hopscotch subchapter, but this is kaleidoscope. This part gets pretty trippy, so yeah.
Oh, he does. Did I know that? I don't know. I feel like.
Yeah, he doesn't actually do the skip there. I'm curious. I might ask him about it. Maybe he just deemed it not really viable on solo co-op. But I'd be curious.
It only saves like 5 or 6 seconds if you do it perfect.
It's got to save a little. I don't actually know the exact amount. But you get to skip that whole cutscene.
It saves like 10, I think, right? It saves like 10 seconds. It's so long.
I'm not too sure.
Yeah, because usually what you would do is you would, on the fall down there, you would like interrupt the fall and you would jump on top of those spinning blocks and you would go across, and then you would you break the sequence by, instead of having to go through that tube, like little cutscene type thing, you would just do it out of bounds. You would death warp down and land on the buttons right away.
Yes, sir. Yeah, this section is just all platforming. Right here is just a cutscene while you're waiting for the screen to change, and as soon as the screen flashes, he's going to restart checkpoint because it takes a while for the screen to like defragment there. It stays in like a kaleidoscope kind of way, and it's really hard to see what you're doing. So some runners opt to restart checkpoint and clear up the screen, and some runners just opt to fight their way through the messed up screen. And he's trying to climb this tower. Unfortunately, he fell once, but pretty quick recovery.
Yeah.
And now he has to make it with the other character. And once he spins this wheel, he'll be done with hopscotch.
And he gets the floor clip. So that interacts thing that he's using to push, you can, and a lot of interacts are like this in the game, where if you're close enough, it doesn't really care where you are. It'll just teleport you to it. So what he does there is he slide jumps and rubs against the bottom of the floor there, and then he presses the interact and it just puts him on top.
And this is train station, so there's actually a pretty unique glitch here. Let's see if he does it. He does. So we actually trick the game into thinking that normally you're supposed to pick up 4 different little doll pieces and put them in their respective spots on the track there to activate the ending. But we actually found out that if you jump and interact with the slots, then the doll stays in your hands, but the game still thinks you dropped the doll. So you can activate 2 slots with 1 doll, and then you can instantly pick it back up and use the same doll for the final slot that finishes the room. So that is a really cool trick.
Yeah. So this is Dino Land. It's not an auto scroller, but it might as well be. There's not a whole lot of movement tech except for the very end. You just gotta guide this this red dinosaur through, and they flip things back and forth, and then you're just kind of moving through the motions. And basically the main goal for us is we're trying to get to the checkpoint at the end that triggers on this cutscene, and then he's gonna take the character with the big dino, and he's gonna turn him around, and he's gonna take him to the very end platform, and he's gonna raise it up to trigger to activate the end trigger. He just did a death warp there. That's probably one of the only tech spots here in this section. So yeah, he's going over there now, and he's gonna lift up this lever, and then he's gonna get off the dyno, and he's gonna go slightly out of bounds. Although we don't consider it out of bounds, but it kind of is. Yeah, so he's gonna go out here, he's just gonna go over here, and then he's just gonna get straight to the lever. Because usually what this would have to do is where the May is right now, she would have to go through all this other platforming, and there'd be more things where they'd be lifting stuff up and down. But as soon as we get control of our characters again, we're like, we don't care. We're just gonna go to the end. Skip all that. Yeah, you wanna tell them about the most exciting chapter in the game?
Oh, are we going into Pirates Ahoy right now?
Yeah.
It's time for this already?
Yeah, we're already.
So we're going into Pirates Ahoy. This section is quite annoying, to be honest with you, in my opinion, where you are controlling a boat as two characters. One person's responsible for the right wheel, one person's responsible for the left wheel. On local, I will say this section is a lot nicer. On co-op, the desync that occurs makes the steering pretty abysmal, but nevertheless, he is running local because there's only one player playing the game, so he doesn't have to deal with too much annoyance with the steering. But pretty much, this section is just shooting your way through obstacles and steering cleanly. And then there's going to be a bunch of spots where we hit a checkpoint and reset checkpoint to skip little cutscenes, for lack of a better term. And now he's got this little section where he needs to destroy 3 boats, and as soon as the 3rd boat is destroyed, he'll get another checkpoint, which he can restart, and it'll teleport him out on the other side of the room. Right there. And then the only redeeming part of this section of the game is the penguins, because I personally am a large fan of the penguin species, and this is the only part of this section that brings me any joy. Some people opt to kill the penguins, mostly in a
despite him.
Yes, specifically to antagonize me. People choose to kill the penguin on the way by. They are okay with losing a couple seconds to shoot the penguin just to make sure I'm not pleased. Alright, so we're coming up on the boss fight of this section. Another annoying boss, where this is a cycle-based boss. If he plays this boss perfectly and he doesn't miss any shots starting now, then he should be able to kill it within 2 cycles. And that's going to save about 20 seconds, so we'll see if he gets it. Normally, you can tell if they're going to get it. Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, so we have a visual cue. I don't know if you can see that office lamp, the green office lamp in the background here. So if the health bar is past that, and it's right there. If he does the rest is perfect, he can still get it.
I think he does have it. I think on local, it might be a little more lenient too. But I'm not 100% sure about that.
It could be the case. Pirates Ahoy is just one of those. It's one of those chapters that's really heavy on desync, just because of how it's coded, and being able to run local. There's a lot of tricks that are just easier on local because of that. Like the very first glitch in the game where we did the fuses and stuff. That glitch is really rough online because of the desync. Like if your desync gets too high, it'll just DC you off automatically, and you'll have to rejoin.
Here we go. If the octopus dies here, he got it. He was 1 shot off, literally 1 bullet. That's unfortunate, but yeah, that's an annoying part of this boss, is that it's almost RNG. I don't think it is, but it feels that way.
It really does.
And there you go, we finished that off. And he's on his way to the greatest show is next, right?
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
You have
chime in for just a second.
You do have about 30 seconds.
All right, so we've had a donation actually for a while now. We have a $5 donation from Glint It says, "Let's go GoodNo1se. The ITT community has been extremely welcoming and supportive, and I'm super excited we're able to show off the game at such a wonderful event. Keep up the great work on commentary, Alien and Hyper, and best of luck on the rest of the run, GoodNo1se."
What a cutie.
We
And
love
then
Glenn.
we have another $5 donation from Papa Yan, and they say, excuse me, I'm having quite a hard time reading that.
I want to have fun. Good no stream. That's what it says. You say
That's
it
what
like
it
that.
says. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever you said. Haha, best of luck, GoodNo1se, and keep on making all those sexy noises. Proud to be a part of the ITT speedrun community. All right, thank you everybody for your donations.
Yeah, those are
that's
two of
another,
our lovely runners.
Yeah, that's one of the other GoodNo1se memes. Is every time he raids somebody, he raids them with a with a message like that. I want to have fun. Good no stream.
That's a great one. So yeah, we're in the greatest show. This is a bit of a circus level here. They just got done shooting. I say as if it's a normal speedrun and it's not one guy doing literally everything. He just got done with the balloon section there, where you just have to aim a cannon at some balloons. It's actually trickier than it looks, though. It can be really annoying to manage the cycles of the balloons and aim it properly and such.
Yeah, so up here we have a death warp that he's gonna go for. I think he goes for the one that's directly across. I'm actually not super sure which one he's gonna do for marathon. There's two death warps, one slightly harder than the other. Yeah, so it looks like he's gonna go for this one. So what he's gonna do is with May is he puts the ball right next to the edge, and you see the very outline of these wood planks. They don't count as like actual floor, so he can stand there, pick up the ball, and oh no, he has to do it again. So I guess he touched the edge of the plank here, so he's gonna have to do it again with Cody, because the alternative is you have to do like this trapeze section. It's kind of slow. What?
He is getting robbed in broad daylight.
Yeah, honestly, I watched both of these and it looked like fine to me. If this doesn't work,
So
I
did for
actually
sure,
have no
right?
idea. Yeah.
Okay, he
there
got
we
it there.
go. Unreal. I actually can't believe that. It didn't look like he touched the floor at all.
No, he didn't. But I think I just think that part's really picky about where you land. So even if you don't touch the actual wood, there's a little bit of leeway on the check on whether or not you're spawning there. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
He may have brushed it, Bites said, but Bites doesn't know anything. Bites is my co-op partner for this game. He carries.
Oh no! I forgot! I never finished building the...
He doesn't carry you. He just does all the
Carries
stuff.
me. He just does everything. Alright, so now we're into this section. This section is called Once Upon a Time. It's very short.
Oh my god, he's gonna go for it. Oh,
Yeah, he's got to try, right?
he went for a very small movement optimization there. It's worth going for because if you miss, you just go the normal way because it's on the way. But you could like jump on the lights and then get straight up and not have to go to the drone.
Yep, so now he's just going to be knocking over some Jenga towers, and then he needs to knock this door down with the bowling ball by pulling back and pushing forward at the same time on both characters. So this is one of the few parts that is actually easier on solo co-op because you have complete control over both characters, whereas in co-op you've got desync and both players pushing different directions and such can make this take a lot longer. There he goes through that door. This part's really cool. We've got an ARPG section of the game, like a top-down Diablo style section.
And we love that, so we just go out of bounds so we don't have to do it.
So this is actually quite a tricky out of bounds for Cody. Oh, he's using his
He's fighting. Oh.
That's very nice try. He's using his attack animation to stall, but right now what he's trying to do is rub against the mountain during his blink ability to gain height and get on top of the arena here. So now he's up here. One thing that's tricky about this part is that all the rooms that have not been discovered are hiding around him, and he needs to navigate around them without falling in. Falling in could lose, depending on where you fall in, you could lose a ton of time here. So you can see there's a room here. He's gonna reveal it and walk across. And now he just needs to be careful on his way to the ending here. As long as he finds the lava area, he should be fine, yeah. So you can just run along the lava area and it's fairly safe.
Yeah, for whatever reason, the lava area is always loaded, but you saw when he came up on the rooms, they just kind of pop in, just as you get right next to it. It can be kind of scary.
So you're just going to touch those buttons and start this section. We need to run from this doll. And actually, while the doll cutscene is happening there, he's already breaking the first door, which is cool. So he's just breaking down doors. This section's on a timer by itself, so as long as you make it to the end before the doll, you don't lose any time. So just breaking these, and then he's done with this section.
It's like auto scroller. It's basically like yard time in prison. Like they let you kind of move around and stuff, but it's an auto scroller.
Very relatable. Who hasn't done yard time in prison? That's funny. So he actually doesn't do a restart checkpoint there. That's interesting. There's a checkpoint reset when you enter this room that saves a little bit of time. Not much, maybe like 2 seconds, but
yeah, so
either he doesn't
fight
know
is really can be really funky too, because you're trying to get this this troll to run into each of these pillars of fire, but you see all these little guys that are like harassing him. You can fight the little guys, but the thing is if you hit the troll with any of your attacks, he just stops where he is, and we really don't want that, because we want him to crash into all these in order to open up the middle pit, and then he's gonna lure him again into it. It's I've seen some runs get shafted here real hard. He knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you actually have to kill both those hands at the same time, or else he'll keep grabbing back on with one hand. And I've seen players sit there for like almost a full minute just killing one hand and then going to kill the other hand, instead of just waiting for the one that they just killed to respawn so they can kill them both at the same time. And they just keep juggling. Yes, I think it was. So this section's pretty cool. This is a chess fight where there's a bunch of chess pieces all trying to kill them. The king and queen share a health bar, so it doesn't matter which one you go for, but we opt to go for the queen because the queen kind of moves around freely, but the king will always step one tile at a time towards your position. So as long as you stay by the queen, the king has a good chance of showing up, and you can hit them both at the same time if they are near each other. He got really bad RNG, I would say. The king was really never near the queen that whole fight, so he probably lost a little bit of time to just sheer RNG.
Cutie, we don't want to do this, but we have
So now he's
to.
going to be controlling a crane game to pick up the elephant here. And he got the first cycle that you could possibly grab it, which is really good. And you might want to close your eyes for this section because this is painful. Essentially, they're going to be torturing their daughter's favorite toy. Because in the story at this point, they are trying to make their daughter cry because they believe that her tears will turn them back into humans.
Come on, grab her. Someplace quiet and safe.
Yeah, the life of a speedrunner is real hard. It's it can be taxing emotionally. They just it's so rough.
This is horrible.
Yeah, having to go through this every single run. Gotta love it.
I'll need
Yeah.
therapy after this.
I've adjusted at this point. I had to completely detach myself from mortal emotions in order to be able to run this game.
It is just brutal. I mean, they rip her leg off. They're now ripping her ear off. And they're pulling her to the edge of the cliff while she begs for mercy. And they're going to push her off.
I mean, she kind of had it coming. She's a tyrant. She put all her political opponents in prison, and you know,
Pain and suffering,
yeah,
my favorite.
she fed them all to the troll and stuff. So she kind of had it coming. You know, we went through the dungeon crawler. We saw her misdeeds.
And that's the end of Rose's room. That's the longest chapter in the game, complete. And we're going on to Cuckoo Clock.
One of my favorite chapters as a May player. There's a May gets a absolutely broken ability where she is able. You'll see him use it right here. He's able to clone, and basically, if you put a clone midair, you get two options. You can clone into it right away, and you get a slight vertical boost, so that you can get up onto like just ledges that you can just barely not get into, or you'll see him do it right over here. He's gonna do it over the door, where he's gonna put it up in the air and he's gonna land, and that refreshes your jump. So he's gonna jump dash, he's gonna land, and then he's gonna jump dash again. And he gets right over the door. Basically you can break everything with
It's
this,
so
with
broken.
this power.
And Cody, unfortunately, gets the very lackluster ability of controlling time, which sounds amazing, but as for speedrunning purposes, it really doesn't do a whole lot for you. So this is one of the chapters that is heavily influenced by the May player. And Cody just kind of tags along. So they're just going to water these fires. We found a spot where you can water both fires at the same time, which is a nice little bit of a time save. And this section is mostly just kind of on rails, literally. You have to progress these dolls through, the Cody and May doll that are riding on the rails next to them. You have to get them through to the end, or else you can't progress through the levels. So it's pretty much just waiting for them to get to the puzzles and then solving the puzzles.
Yep. And then we have two towers coming up. There's one that's just hit the buttons, and it's a code that you're supposed to figure out together with communication and having one player go through the level and tell the other one what the code is. But once you know the code, you don't have to. You just do the code. So that one's easy. But the other one you need to hit a fast cycle for. So as soon as he starts, he's gonna come up here and he's gonna get on these birds. And as soon as he gets onto the birds, the cycle is ticking. So he needs to get there quick enough that he can get onto these alternate platforms and get it fast enough. Because that's kind of like one of the bigger time saves in Clock. Because Clock is fun to run, but there's a lot of auto scroller, so there's only like a few sections that you're really looking to like save a lot of time in, and this is one of them.
Yep, so he needs to make sure he makes this cycle. So in order to make this cycle, you need to get here quickly with both birds. I think he should be on time.
But I think he got it. Yeah, I think he'll be okay.
So we're looking to see. He shouldn't have to wait at all here coming out of the elevator. He's going for it with blind. Okay, so he did miss it by just a slight bit, which is unfortunate. So he has to wait for the that timer at the top to go back to green. And then red, and then he's going to go to the end. And then he's going to skip the cycle here by slide jumping all the way to red, and then slide jumping from red all the way to the end, so he doesn't have to wait for the timer. Oh, he actually went for green, and he was a little bit early. So it actually would have been safer for him to slide jump there. So there, he's going to slide jump this time. He learned his lesson. And then that's the first tower, and then they're going to the second tower, which is, like Alien said, there's a puzzle where you need to know the code to get in, but the code never changes. So he's just going to go in, tap the code in, and then continue on. And it's a very quick tower.
Yeah, the back half of Gate to Time, I really like the oob in the very beginning. It's a lot of fun, but the back half is just kind of going through the motions until you get to my favorite skip in the game, which is coming up here in the next chapter, or the sub chapter.
A huge stressful skip for May.
Yeah, So we basically take the clone ability that Mei has and we push it to its absolute limit. That death there is intentional. It resets Cody's camera which is really important for solo when you can only really focus on like you're trying to split your attention. Having a consistent camera is really important.
That's really cool. I never noticed him do that actually before this. Okay, so the last part of this first sub chapter is just having both players open this door. And then we are on to a very scary part of the run for our Mei players.
Yeah, so like I was saying, we take the clone and we just push it to its absolute max. We use it, I think, like 6 or 7 times to make jumps that should not be possible. It basically, there's what this section of the game is supposed to be is it's like you're supposed to go over to one side, you work together to get a key, then you go over to the other side and you work together to get another key, and then you do a statue, and then it flips around, and then there's a boss fight. But we just go all the way to the end, and we hit a trigger, and it gets us a checkpoint, and then we just end it. And we skip all of that. It's a really big skip. Really
massive.
stressful.
Yeah. There's a lot of room for error, and the errors cost a lot of time. So it's so important that he does a good job on this skip here if he wants to keep the pace nice and clean.
Yeah, because it's like probably 11 or 12 pretty difficult jumps all in a row, and if you miss one, you have to pretty much restart the entire thing, because you're up so high that if you fall, you kind of soft lock yourself in a lot of parts, and you have to reset checkpoint and start it over. Yeah, and the devs were so kind to put this auto scroller for you to just sit there and think and try not to tilt, and just don't think about it too much. You know, just walk on the way to the hard skip.
All right, so as soon as they spin this wheel here, this key, they're gonna restart checkpoint. I keep calling one person they just because I'm so used to watching 2 people run this game. But now it is showtime for Mei here to get this massive skip.
Oh, yeah,
So he already made a small mistake, but this is recoverable. Yep, he had a clone up top. That was good. He's gonna save it again here. There we go. That's what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
So he's completely out of bounds right now, and now he needs to get some height.
Here we go. So these are the consecutive clone jumps that you're going to see him doing. He's going to get up on top of these pillars. He's going to climb over these arches. And then at the end of this, there is a jump that he needs to do onto a paper-thin wall that is completely invisible. So you see he lands on it right there. And then we have to jump out and around an invisible ceiling. And then he's so good at this.
He just did it. He just did it
murdered
absolutely flawless. That was perfect.
Yeah. And there we go. That trick is really hard. That's something that a lot of people, you have to practice so much because you can't see what you're platforming on, and it just takes so much time just like learning and like getting that mental map of where everything is.
Thank goodness for his sake that Cody doesn't have to do anything, so he can just play the one character.
Yeah.
Focus on it. Okay, so we're coming up on another auto scroller. I recently taught him a safe spot for this. We'll see if he goes for it or not. It's not particularly difficult, but I don't know if he cares enough to go for it because it's just a safe spot. Doesn't save any time.
I think that's the only intentional
He
clone
is doing it.
that the game expects you to do is the one he did right there. Because I think every other clone we do in the run just is broken. We do it in the wrong way.
Yeah, he missed the safe spot, so he does actually have to dodge the clock. If he did that part properly, he could be on the outside of the elevator, and the elevator would still trigger and go up, and you can just wait, and you don't have to do anything.
What a mad lad.
Yeah, that doesn't seem entirely necessary, huh?
Yeah, because if one person dies here, you're fine. It's if you both die, then you have to reset the whole thing. But I guess he's just flexing. That's probably what this is. He's just flexing.
Oh, speaking of flex, the next part is just insanity with both characters. So as soon as this elevator ends, there's a section that is on a cycle, and it is a set of grapples or rope swings, and they rotate. They're always on a set cycle though, and if you are extremely quick, you have to make almost no mistakes. You can make it to the last rope before it swings to the end, and if you don't make it, you have to wait for it to swing to the end and then back and then to the end again, and that loses you like 10 to 15 seconds. So people struggle with this, just doing this on one character, and he's going to be trying to do it with both characters at the same exact time without losing any like movement at all.
It's
Here it goes.
oh, I think
That's already not a great start. I'm surprised. If that were me, I would have restart checkpoint and tried again, but we'll see. Maybe he's got it still. He might actually still have it because that was very clean. Oh my gosh, he still got it. He's so insane.
How did he do that with that start?
He's so cracked.
Yeah, that was so good.
Like, that start was pretty bad. Like, he's insane for making that. And then we've got a boss fight here that has no death penalty at all, so he's just going to probably drink some water here, I guess. If there's any donations, or if you'd like to remind the people about donations, you can.
There are no new donations, but again, if you are curious about donating, there is a command, !donate. There's also a number of other commands, including !charity and !schedule. Learn more about Able Gamer, the charity this marathon is providing for, as well as, well, the schedule.
So yeah, he's just waiting his way through here, refreshing up on this water, and once this bird section is done, he's going to restart checkpoint to skip a cutscene, and he'll be in the last section of clock, which is very dull, I would say. There's not a whole lot of gameplay going on, unfortunately.
It's funny, that bird fight, the game treats it as a boss fight, but you actually just can't die there. Like, both characters can die and just nothing happens at all.
There's no penalties, yeah.
Zero penalty. It's completely AFK.
So this whole section is pretty much just survival. So he's going to be dodging some swinging, I don't know what to call those really. He's just going to be surviving. As long as both characters don't die here, there's nothing that can go wrong. And there's just a few auto-scrollers here, is what we like to call them. It's not really any way to save time.
Yeah, this is kind of an obstacle course that barely challenges us because we're epic gamers, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you literally can just memorize every single position of those, and it's very easy. Also, May's clone ability gives her invulnerability frames to those, so you can just stand in place with May and just clone as soon as they're about to hit you, and you won't take damage. And then for this falling section, normally you're supposed to dodge all the obstacles, but if you just pick a corner, it's extremely unlikely that you'll take 4 hits by the time you get to the bottom, which is what it requires to kill you. So we just choose the bottom left because we know that one doesn't have enough damage to kill you. He'll probably take 2 hits by the time he gets to the bottom. Rose's room is before this trick. The next chapter will be Snow Globe.
Snow Globe is one of the hardest for solo because so many of the checkpoints are for both players, so he has to get Cody and May to a lot of this stuff. And the out of bounds are not particularly forgiving when it comes to doing it with both characters like that. So you're gonna it's one of like the community's favorite when it comes to like co-op because the movement is so good and it like requires both people, so there's like a lot of cooperation that goes into it. But for solo runs, it's rough. It's he has to do everything like twice, and Some of it is not particularly easy, especially the first jump. The first jump in Snow Globe is you want to hit it like first try, and then he has to hit it first try twice. It's it uses something that we don't really have an official name for it. I think we just generally just call it three fingers jump now. But you but you just hold crouch before you leave the ground, and so you like jump up, so you hit the top of this tree, and then you just, as soon as you hit it, because you're already holding crouch, you get a slide like frame one, and you can jump out of it, and it's a pretty technical jump.
This is a cool trick. This is the last major trick in Clock that he just did, which is normally you're just supposed to have Cody navigate you from one platform to another until you get to the end, but we found a way that you can land on one of the platforms that will set your spawn at one of the ending platforms, and then you can die with May and spawn at the third to last platform, and you skip a lot of platforming there. It saves like 15 seconds. And this is just the end of Clock here.
Yeah, there's really nothing else. You probably got like a minute of just, well, not a minute, but you have time for a gracious host.
All right. We have a $100 donation from TrickSurf, who just says, "Rest in peace, cutie."
Yeah, so Cutie is the elephant at the end of Rose's room that we had to rip in half 6 different ways and then push off the edge of a shelf. So
Rest in peace indeed, and thank you so much for that donation.
Oh yeah, so he does rebinds here. I don't remember exactly for what, but I know it's pretty important.
Let's get moving.
Yeah, so this is the jump that I was talking about. You're gonna see, so he's crouched and he just right up.
Wow,
That
very
jump,
good.
He made that look super easy.
see if he gets both first try.
Oh yeah, he does.
Oh,
this
he
on,
does it
on
the
keyboard.
different way.
He can only do that one jump on a controller.
Well, honestly, I mean, he didn't make
Yeah, no,
any
that's good.
mistakes there, so
Yeah, so
Very,
the one
very
he did
nice.
with May is it's slightly slower, but only by like a second or two. And for a full game, especially for marathon, well worth just making sure you get both characters over.
that makes sense. Byte says the rebind is for magnets, so later on in this section, he'll have parts where he needs to use his magnet ability with both characters at the same time, which just like back in the squirrel fight, he wasn't able to attack with the mouse while using the controller. He has to rebind the magnets so that he can use them both without using the mouse.
Yeah, so this next part is very movement heavy. I think Winter Village is probably one of the, at least for me, it's definitely one of my favorite subchapters to run, just because it's just all movement until the bobsleds, and he has to do this with both characters, and I can't believe that he does this.
He's insane. I mean, seriously, like, people who learn this game, they struggle with all of these tricks just to do with one. And he's got literally one hand on 2 different controller, like, types of controllers, and he's doing them flawlessly. He's built different. That's all you
Yeah,
can
it
really
absolutely
say.
is. Oh no, he got stuck below the turtle.
He's good now. He's out.
He's good now. Yeah, so that part right there can be really tricky. Like, I can't imagine a world where someone can do that with both characters at the exact same time. But yeah, so he catches him up here, and so he's gonna do some jump resets off this tree here, and then he's gonna do a bunch of jump resets off an invisible wall right here to get up and over here. Oh, super clean. Oh my god.
No. Okay, good. He didn't fall all the way though. That's the hyper special. He survived that. Sometimes when you do a slide jump off that part, it takes your double jump and full panic mode engaged when that happens. And most of the time, you're gonna fall all the way back down, and you have to redo that climb. That's always what happens to me, at least. So really nice that he wasn't. He didn't end up all the way back at the bottom. He was able to salvage that a little bit. And yeah, this chapter is a fan favorite for sure. I would say if you took a poll from the speedrunning Discord, this would win by a landslide as the most fun chapter to speedrun. It's just, it's engaging for both characters. Every chapter, every sub-chapter in here is just enjoyable. The movement feels good.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely my number one. I think Garden would be close, but yeah, I think Snow Globe is it's so good.
By the way, that skip is insane because the intended part of this level is to go to 3 different bell towers. Actually, 4 in total, right? Alien, is it 4? Because the first one...
Yeah, that's
Okay.
4 towers.
Four bell towers that require both players to solve each individual one. But instead, we're able to go out of bounds, hit a trigger that allows the bobsleds to become interactable, and then just skip straight to the end.
Ooh, into the belly of the beast.
Get me out of here, mate.
This is, I think, the only like true auto scroller in
Realistically, it's the only real one. But...
Yeah, there's the end of Beneath the Ice too.
Yeah, I guess if you count the lighthouse, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we kind of just. I've seen it so many times I didn't even think to mention it. But yeah, we just went through the guts of a whale on the bobsled. Just went through it.
Just normal stuff happening on screen.
Yeah, just normal
Your
sledding
average
stuff that you know,
Saturday.
everybody's done it like on their ski trip or whatever.
This next subchapter that we're going in is a extremely scary trick. I believe in solo co-op it's not the best to do, so I don't think you'll be going for the very, very scary version of it. But there's a trick where you climb a mountain that saves, I think 20... Actually, I believe it's like 40 seconds over the next fastest route. But as solo co-op, since you can't control both characters at the same time, it doesn't actually save that much. So he's going to be doing a safer route.
Yeah.
Where's the lighthouse?
Should be close by. I wonder how it'll help.
He
us
does
get
have to
the
split
top
them
of
off here though, and that is
Yeah, this is one of the few parts where he's got to split the characters up and control both at the same time.
So he's sitting his set up, gets his dash jump, and here they go. They're going off in different directions. This is, to me, this is one of the more technically impressive parts of the solo co-op run. Just because I cannot imagine splitting my attention like this and like
This
successfully
would kill
going
me.
fast.
I don't know how he does this.
All right, he's got one out of bounds.
The other
Yeah,
one's
gets there.
climbing.
Yeah. Yeah, so we the Cody is out of bounds but underwater because the bounding box of all of the water goes well outside of what you're supposed to be. So he's gonna swim straight to the back of because you have to hit 3 buttons in this section, and so there's one that he has to do with both, and then there's 2 that we found ways to do with just one. So for the Cody one, he's just gonna be swimming for a while, and then he's gonna come in through like an opening in the back, and he's gonna completely skip the entire puzzle. And then for May, he just went up and over a mountain, and then he drops down onto this cliff that you're not supposed to be able to get up on top of. What did he hit? That's so weird.
Who knows? But he's owning.
He is, absolutely.
So he is already at the button on Cody, and the other button is actually this wheel. So once he spins this wheel, I think 4 times, it'll activate a cutscene. After that cutscene, he's going to slam the button and restart checkpoint. He has to do it in this order, so that way when he restarts the checkpoint, he'll end up in this hub area, and the hub area is the closest point to the 3rd button, which requires both characters. So he's going to spawn with both characters near that, right here.
is the candy factory.
And we're going to meet our friend Lenny.
We could turn on the lights.
Pipes probably lead to the generator.
This section is just really frustrating solo. When he was first learning the subchapter, finding a way that he could do this consistently. This is the entire reason he has the keybinds, is for this part, because you have to like move around and you have to keep the magnet engaged almost at all times in order to move it, and it's really hard to do that with 2 controllers at the same time. It's just really rough, especially when the wrench does not always behave the way you want it to, and you have a big angry fish trying to murder you at all times. And he is gonna dodge that. It's really close.
Yeah, that is what we like to call Lenny. He's an anglerfish, and he does try to slow us down a little bit.
To respond to someone in chat who says, is this the guy that beats world records that have gotten non-solo by doing solo? Yes, he actually had the fastest clock world record for a very brief period, then co-op, and he did it by himself. I think he was he the first one to get a sub 15? Or
He
no,
was
I think
not. We were.
It was very close though. I think. He had
Yes,
like
he
a
beat
15
my
hour or
record
something.
by himself, and I'm not proud of that. But I won't pretend it's not true. He did successfully take a world record from us with just himself.
And he currently does hold the local PC world record by about 5. Actually, no, I think it's by about 7 minutes now. So he's built different. He absolutely built different.
And then on the last bolt there that you're supposed to screw in, for some reason, the bolts actually screw themselves in after you leave them. So as soon as the bolt spinner thing is attached to the last one, you can restart checkpoint, and it'll take you back to the hub, and the final bolt thing is interactable. Spin that, and you end up on this lighthouse auto scroller where he's just going to hold to the right until he gets to the top.
A 360 view.
And then he'll be starting the last section of Snow Globe.
Going, Cody. Almost there.
Yeah, and the very beginning, the first jump that you have to do out of slippery slopes is pretty rough. It's there's 2 ways to do it. There's like one where you get a ton of speed and you kind of like zoom way up into the air, and then you can get over on top. And then there's another version that I think is what I'm not sure what he actually goes for. But you kind of land on the ledge and then you do a slide jump. Let's see what he does.
Well, there he goes. He got the fast one on May, and here he goes. Fast one on Cody. Yup. I mean, what else would you expect?
No doubt.
So, yep, he got the fast version for both of them separately, but still insane.
Yeah, so this part is really, it's really just movement heavy. Like, there's a lot of sliding and stuff, and there's
So
a lot
fun.
of time to be saved by just being really optimal with where you're sliding at. And it's really rough on 2 controllers, because it's just like, it's hard to tell where you're going. You can't, even when you're just by yourself, it's hard to tell where you're going a lot of the time because of all the trees. Once you're out here, you're kind of home free. Looks like he's just gonna be sliding with them. We have a skip up here called ACS that we're gonna jump up to onto this mountain over here onto his right. There is a visual cue here. There's a white spot. Looks like he doesn't have it on his visual, but he just gets it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't need it.
He's cracked.
He's so cracked.
He's freaking cracked. This is insane. Yeah, he is just... I honestly can't remember how good his PB is, but I would not be surprised if he's on PB pace right now.
His PB is a 152.45 in-game time.
Right, so I just can't tell though with the RTA. I cannot tell, but like he really hasn't had very many major mistakes yet. So
Yeah, he's cruising.
okay, we're coming up on a skip named after one of our fellow runners who found it. It's called the Glint Skip. Same guy who donated a little bit ago. We appreciate him a lot. This skip is very frustrating. He's going to try to... Does he go for it, actually? That's the question. Of course he does.
I mean,
Let's go.
Yeah, why wouldn't he? Yeah.
So he's going to try to grab this railing. And that's why it's frustrating. Even if you make it just right in range of the railing, there's so many other things that matter, whether it's like camera positioning or what have you. It's just... Sometimes you just don't get the prompt to interact with the rail, and we just haven't figured out exactly why yet, but it's fairly doable though, so it's worth going for once if you get it.
So Cody has a death ward right here. Die with Cody. Oh wow, he went really far before he died. Yeah, so now Cody's caught up, mostly. And they're gonna go into the final section of the game, which is really nice. Or the game of the chapter. What is he doing?
He's struggling with Cody right now. But
So up here, the two characters in our story, they finally learn how to love each other again. They find the attraction. So now their magnets can magnet to each other, and we use this to really break some stuff. He's gonna do this mostly normal, and then the very last part, he's gonna do some magnet jumps that the game was not super anticipating. We use that to get out of bounds. If we were able to do these magnet jumps throughout the entire snow globe, that would make this chapter look a lot different, I'll tell you that.
So here we go. We're about to go out of bounds here by having one character slide jump up a slope, and then the other character immediately magneting and jumping to stay in the air, and then the other character can magnet back to them. And by doing that, you gain a little bit more height than you should, and you can get out of bounds here. And so instead of running up a mountain that pushes you down with wind, you save so much time by just running alongside it. You can see the wind to his left that he's out of range of, so this just saves so much.
This was a phenomenal snow globe. If he, after the run, if he was like, yeah, it was a snow globe PB, I would not be surprised. That was very fast.
That was really nice.
All right, so this is another, probably, I don't know if it would be harder than Snow Globe Solo, but it's very hard. There's a lot of really technical stuff that goes on in Garden, and the thing with Garden is that a lot of the stuff is hard, but it's hard and you can't mess up, because if you mess up once, you can like lose the entire run. Like there's a couple sub chapters that are like that. But right here, this is a green fingers jump. It's the same thing as the very beginning of Snow Globe, where he's holding crouch before he leaves the ground, and we just do that to get a slide jump off of this tiny little piece of wood, and then we're just able to get out of bounds in the very first area of this sub chapter. And so now we're just going to the end. Still just like, there's a lot of like good movement here that you can do. There's like some good slides and stuff. I'm pretty sure he's gonna, yeah, right here. He just, oh no.
A little accidental ground pound, and since the characters got out of line there, he's gonna have to reline them up because solo co-op problems. So
Yeah.
that's okay though. That's some optimization stuff there. Nothing too crazy. Okay, what we really don't want to happen is we don't want to see him miss this jump coming up. Not this one, but the one where he gets onto the fencing.
There he goes. Yeah.
Okay, so he actually does this the safe way, which is very smart of him. So he's chilling now. He's good.
Yeah, that was something he changed a few days ago, where because he used to go down onto the fence and then have to jump them up onto the part that he's standing now, one at a time. But he figured out you could just line them up before that and then just get onto the bush, which makes it much more manageable.
Very nice. This is one of the few cutscenes we can't skip for some reason. It's a short one, but we are going to be entering a boss fight here, but we don't kill bosses around here. We're going to jump out of the boss arena and just trigger the end of the level. Unfortunately, without hitting every single checkpoint on the way here, you have to enter this boss fight to catch up to checkpoints. So there is an alternative route where you hit every checkpoint and then you skip this boss entirely, including that cutscene. You never come into this boss arena, but it is significantly trickier, and it's quite new, so this does the trick. And so he just jumps straight out of the boss fight, completely ignores it, and breaking this plant takes him to the next subchapter, which would be weed whacking.
So the next two sub-chapters are going to be really good showcases of GoodNo1se's solo ability, because these are both chapters that really, you just need May. Because in this chapter, May gets a scythe that when we use the scythe into sloped collision, can give her a boost. And we use that to get some slightly better movement than what Cody could do. So a lot of Garden is technically May carry, although Cody can do it. If May gets out in front, a lot of times it's just better to let May do it, because it's just gonna be faster for her regardless. So like right here, so those are the side climbs, and he's just gonna basically the entire weed whacking level is loaded from the very start, and it's mostly just collision. There's some invisible like water and stuff that's not totally loaded, but the hitboxes for them are. So he's actually navigating like a slight minefield here of just like invisible water that if he falls into it, you're gonna see it up here because there's one mandatory that we have to take, little like T-pose death that we have to do because the game's not sure what to do with us. But yeah, so right here he's gonna get a big slide jump right up to the air. So that one's the one mandatory death that we have to take there, and then we just keep going. So now we're like underneath it, and we can just keep moving.
Yeah,
So
if he was even remotely left or right of where he landed into that water death, you can actually soft lock the game there and force a restart from the very beginning of this sub chapter. So that's extremely dangerous. You're right in the center there. But now he's just going to be doing a couple small oysters. He's going to slide off the ledge to get a little extra speed. And this last death triggers the final fight in weed whacking, and then he can restart checkpoint to catch everything up. So now the game thinks he went through his normal.
This is probably one of the tougher parts to do solo. He actually found a really nice safe spot for Cody here where Cody can't take damage. Because if both characters die here, you have to restart this whole part. And that's really frustrating because as you can see, there's just tons of little dudes and they're just like constantly all over him. And it's really hard to like keep track of where they are. And even like in co-op, this can be a little difficult to not die here because you're trying to go as fast as you can. You're not really focused on these little guys and like the damage can rack up. And so having that safe spot for Cody to make sure that they don't get a restart there, it's really nice. Yeah, just letting May die.
Yeah, May dying there does not matter because her job is done. And now he's got this little Plants vs. Zombies kind of section where he just needs to protect May while she waters this plant. Once this plant's done watering, they're going to break another one of those. I don't even know what to call those things, but once that's broken, it's going to trigger the transition to trespassing.
It's an angry garlic bulb. That's what it is.
That's got to be it.
Yeah, so he can hit that with Cody from way back there, which is nice for solo too, because you don't have to go all the way over like he does with May.
And here we go into trespassing, another May carry chapter because she has a couple small tricks she can do with the scythe that Cody can't do. So normally in a co-op run, you'd have both players progressing through this section because it's very high risk. There is a lot of places in this section where you can cause a full reset of trespassing, losing up to like 2 minutes, which is insanity. That's just a dead run at that point.
I think this is the most punishing chapter in the game if I had to pick one.
It's terrifying. You can do as little as a ground pound to lose up to 2 minutes here. So you're going to see he's actually out of bounds, but normally in this section you have to navigate a cavern full of sleeping moles. So there's a noise meter here. Typically, Cody provides moss for May to walk on to silence her footsteps, and May can sneak through. But since we're out of bounds, all we have to do is just make sure we don't make too much noise while we're navigating, because the noise meter actually extends out of bounds, which is interesting. Makes this part a lot more dangerous.
He's playing it very, very safe, and I don't blame him either, especially in marathon setting, because like you said, you lose minutes here if you have to restart this. All right,
Yeah.
So now he is clear of the noise meter. He is free. So interesting thing about there is we haven't talked about this yet, but slide jump fall speed is the fastest fall speed that we have. It's faster than ground pounding even. So he just waited there to be able to slide jump, and then he just was able to just get all the way down to the bottom plane here. So this part right here is the part that is what makes May faster in this section. There's a spot in the beginning too that you might have saw him do where he's scythed up that rock, but it's right here. So he's gonna get on here and he's gonna scythe up this, and then he's gonna slide jump across, and even got a little baby oyster there too. That was nice. And yeah, and so we just get up on top of this entire top-down section, and we're just gonna go straight to the end.
So he's only got a couple more things he could possibly mess up in this section, but I have faith that he will be all right. So he's gonna fall into a hole here to get to the ending trigger. The camera can get kind of funky here, so we'll see what happens. So he got the good camera. Sometimes,
Dude, I thought he was so close to the wall, man. I was panicking for him, dude. Oh man.
So yeah, you can actually get a pretty bad camera there where the game expects Cody to be here. So the game locks on to the wrong part of the screen, and you have to do that section completely blind. It's manageable, but it's not ideal. So good thing that he got the normal camera there. You didn't have to worry about it. And that's the end of trespassing. He's just waiting on this little mole cutscene, and it takes an extra while because the game is very confused at this point. It hasn't even spawned the moles in yet because you skipped literally every trigger.
Yeah.
And this part gets
to keep up.
pretty interesting.
Yeah, this is a really, really cool glitch that we have here. So these frogs have very interesting collision, and this is another trick that's very FPS dependent. So when we push into this bush here, we just go back and forth, and the higher your FPS is, the further you just get launched, and it's we just use that to go straight out of bounds right away. And we do some platforming on some invisible collision. There's a stone fence that extends. This is a very thin part that he's on right now. Much harder than it looks. You can't just like land anywhere there. It's pretty thin, but pretty like consistent once you've practiced it for sure. And so we're gonna do this to do another mini game warp up here to snail race. That is basically skips the entire level, and so he's gonna load snail race here, and then he's gonna reset checkpoint, and then he has about 30 seconds of gameplay left, and he's done with this small chapter here.
Made it to the greenhouse. Now just to get up to that window.
So a little restart checkpoint saves like 10 seconds of platforming. And now he's going to send May to the top, and he's going to be watering the proper plants as May, while Cody platforms up these lily pads. Not really lily pads, but
Keep it going,
whatever.
May.
Little leaves.
You're doing great as well.
No soft lock there.
Nice
RNG
jumping.
bless.
Oh, the grabbing the ledge? That's so
Yeah.
funny.
I can't believe that happened.
All
Yeah,
right,
so this-
so
Oh, you can
you
take
go
it.
ahead.
You go for it.
You got it, you got it.
Okay, so right here, oh no. So yeah, you can grab this shovel from out of bounds and you completely skip doing this first section. So you're supposed to do 3 combat sections here, and they're kind of long. You're gonna see him do it right here. So you're supposed to clear out all this gunk, and then some enemies spawn, and then you take care of them all, and then you go do the next one. But we can completely skip the first one by just going right into it, and we can grab that. It's a pretty precise angle, but it's pretty consistent, where we can just kind of slide jump from that corner, and we just grab the shovel and get straight up to the second one.
Another wave of them, May.
Yep, so May clears out all the gunk, Cody fills it with flowers, and it spawns the enemies. You complete the fight, you break a plant, it starts a cutscene, and you have to do that 3 times, but only 2 because we skipped the first one. And we're going to do a little bit of manipulation because
How do you like this weed?
instead of having to break this plant and start the first cutscene, we're going to wait until we break the other plant so we can overlap the cutscenes on top of each other. So that way they take half as much time. We only have to wait for 1 cutscene.
Yeah. And then we get to start the real boss fight of Garden, which is
Oh boy.
It's a pretty big snooze fest on co-op, but on solo it's very stressful because there's so much that can go wrong because it's a lot of combat, and then you have some auto scroller sections which aren't too bad. We have a safe spot for one of them, but it's just like
You want some more?
it's a long boss fight. It's like 7 minutes and some change. For solo, I think it's probably pushing 8 or 9. But it's long. It's a long boss fight, and there's just a lot that can happen because it's just all combat.
I think it is the longest boss fight in the game. So here, Cody's going to stick around to help just a little bit to help clear out some of the ending monsters. And then he's going to come back to this side and get ready to break the plant. Because each of these plants, like I said, starts a cutscene. So he's going to break them at the same time. The cutscenes are going to overlap each other. So he only actually has to wait for one cutscene to finish. Oh, he's got an enemy hiding from him. He got confused there. He was waiting for this bulb to open up. And there was a little tree monster hiding on the edge.
Do a little trolling.
Do a little bit of trolling. And there we go. So he's got one more bulb to break here. It's going to look a little weird because that bulb that we left at the beginning is sitting right there. That's supposed to be broken already. And there's going to be a lot of invisible collision that he's going to jump over with May to get access to this bulb.
Yeah, so if you saw those like corruption aloe vera looking things recede into the earth, that's only visual because we didn't break this first one, so they're still there. So he has to break it through all of that collision. But luckily the way the game like calculates damage and stuff with the scythe is it just kind of it moves you closer to the target that you're attacking, but it still lets you damage it. And so just because there's like something in the way, it still just lets you damage it. It's just like really wonky.
Okay, so we're starting the longest boss fight in the game here. For this section of the boss fight, May has her scythe to deal with some of the smaller enemies, but her scythe is not effective on the larger plants. And Cody's been turned into a tomato. He'll be turned into a couple other fruits / vegetables in the next couple phases, but he needs to slam into these plants while May protects him from the goo on the ground and the enemies that are running around. And then every time they finish a set of plants, he needs to ground pound into a watered soil patch there, and he goes inside of Joy, which is the name of the boss here, and he controls parts of her body so that May can break the corrupted parts and fix her.
Yeah, so he did that combat section. He kind of does it YOLO with May, and because the idea is that the purple corruption thing that's on the ground is you can't dash through it, and he needs to damage it with the tomato thing. So what he does with May is he just makes sure that he has areas clear for Cody to smash it through, and then he just lets May die, which is very gung-ho. It's kind of YOLO, but he makes it work.
And this part is just there's going to be an auto-scroller-esque part of the boss fight between each fruit, vegetable, plant killing section. So this part is on a set timer. All you can do is just dodge the plants. Luckily we have some safe spots so you can kind of chill. So he's in a safe spot right now, and he's just crouch spamming in the corner there. Once the save icon pops up in the bottom right, he's going to restart checkpoint, and it's going to skip a long cutscene, and he's going to spawn in as the next fruit or vegetable. I believe he's a potato. Yep.
French fry.
So once again, he's just going to kill these plants. They always spawn in the same locations on each phase. So the first phase they spawn on the sides and then on the front. This one, it's the sides and the back. So once you memorize them, you can get ready before they even show up, which is nice. It's always the same.
That's so impressive. I just know how hard that is.
Yeah, I mean this section as co-op, this section's a joke. You could literally fall asleep and do this, but as co-op or as solo, it's definitely a lot more interesting. Here we go.
The co-op strategy is to just kind of keep May away from Cody because they all aggro to May, so you just kind of stay away from Cody and you just shoot from across the arena. But he doesn't really have that luxury. That's as a solo, so it's way more hectic.
And next auto-scroller section is starting here. So he's going to be dodging some smashy plants on these little flower pot bases here. There's no safe spot for this section, unfortunately. We've looked, and we were unable to find one so far.
Never give up. Never
Never give up though. Maybe someday.
Be the day.
But yeah, this is a good time if you want to say anything as a host.
So we still do not have any more new donations, but again, if you are curious about the charity that this is all for, exclamation mark charity. If you are looking to donate and you have the funds to spare, exclamation mark donate.
So just dodging these. The only thing that could go wrong here is if both players die. This is also always the same pattern, so he might even have this memorized.
Yeah. This is another section. It's like that same section in Clock where he really only has to do it with one, and he can let the other die. But he's just flexing on all of us, honestly.
It is interesting.
I think I remember asking him about this though when he was first learning this chapter, and he was like, he just feels more comfortable doing this one with both. And it's not particularly hard either. It's just jump dash.
We're going to lime time. Same old thing, just now he's a lime. And after this section, no more auto scrollers. We're going to be breaking the last corrupted piece of joy, and we'll be on to the last chapter of the game. Also the second shortest chapter in the game for the any percent category, because is there 4 or 5 sub-chapters in Attic casually?
5.
Do you remember? There's 5?
Yeah.
And we skipped 2 of them, so.
Yeah. Because there's a few mini games in the very first section of Attic, and it's a section they have you come back to a couple times, but it's different every time, because you go to one and then you do some stuff in one and then it brings you back and then you go into another chapter and then you come back. But there's a new mini game that gets unlocked when you unlock each of these areas, and since we're speedrunners and we're just good at the game, we can get up to those mini games without having to do it the intended way, and we can mini game work for them, and then the game thinks that those sub chapters are already complete. So we just do 2 of those in a row, and then we're out. We go straight to the 4th one.
Yep, so we're going to be loading into Attic here. We are probably less than 10 minutes from the end of the run at this point, assuming all goes well enough. So yeah, he's going to make his way to the first minigame now, by abusing the rope swing here and some movement. So he's going to teleport to musical chairs. And the only reason we need to do this is very interesting. It's because the lights that he's about to come across would not have spawned in if he didn't do a minigame warp to that section. Because the lights only spawn in once you complete the sub-chapter called, I think, Rehearsal. So you're not supposed to get to that minigame before you complete Rehearsal, so the game assumes that you finished Rehearsal so it can spawn the lights in. And then we use the lights to get to the next minigame, which now the game thinks we've completed Symphony. And we're going to the 4th subchapter immediately, which is Turn Up. And here is a throw to Rainbow Road from Mario.
Surreal, but fun.
And this section's pretty cool. We do skip a lot of it. That's one of the skips. The main skip for Rainbow Road right there, where we clip through a wall to skip a bunch of turns. And the main strategy here is to minimize your ground time. The longer you're on the ground, the more your speed will deteriorate. So just by spamming jump, you maintain a lot of speed, and then you can pick up boosts to stay at like maximum speed. And he can skip that grapple as well, but he chooses to play it safe.
I was a little nervous for him too. It looked like the spot he jumped from might not have been ideal.
Yeah. Now this part's very interesting because there's a wall he's going to try to jump over. He needs to maintain enough momentum, and then he needs to time this jump properly, which he did. And he can go over that wall and get a checkpoint, and that brings Cody over to him.
Yeah. And so this is a auto scroller that we found ourselves. We basically just jump off here and then you just fall for like 25 seconds.
Luckily, the auto scroller that we found ourselves is much faster than the auto scroller we just skipped.
Yeah.
Because the alternative route would be platforming. Quite difficult platforming, actually. I always seem to die whenever I used to have to platform the other way. And then you get to a disco ball, and you have to ride the disco ball down a long, winding path. And it takes a few minutes. And by doing this, we can hit a death warp and spawn at the end of where the disco ball takes you. And this is the only other section in the game where he's going to have to change his FPS down to 30.
Yeah, so you'll see these little interact modules that they have for the Dance Dance Revolution section. And it's usually they would take several hits in order to actually activate, but on 30 FPS you can pretty much insta hit a lot of these. You'll see the one on the bottom left particularly. He's gonna one shot here on the next cycle. Because they gotta go do some. He has to go do some button pressing. He's gonna play Guitar Hero over here, and then you'll see the bottom left interact. He'll one shot it.
And this part, pretty impressive on co-op here. I don't know how consistently I could do that.
Oh, it's super. It's the same for both, so it's like.
Yeah, that is true.
See, as long as you're looking at one side, you just have to do it on both. This is one of the only sub-chapters I can run solo that actually took serious. I actually had world record for solo Attic for a brief period, and then we found 2 huge skips that saved like 4 minutes, and then it was over. I never had it after that.
Yep. So since he didn't make any mistakes here, he'll be transferred to the next part of the level, which is a pretty cool auto scroller. My favorite auto scroller in the entire thing, which is going through this audio cable. I think he's gonna restart checkpoint when he loads into the audio cable so he can change his FPS back.
Yeah, it looks like he is going to. He's already got it pre-fired.
Yep, there it is. Changes his FPS back. And pretty much you have 2 goals during this audio cable section. Don't get hit by the red walls and try to hit as many boosts as possible. Hitting the red walls is extremely bad. Hitting the boost is slightly good. So it's definitely better to avoid the walls than it is to hit the boost if you have to choose. But it is the same every time, so he probably has it memorized.
There is a max speed too here, so once you've hit the max speed, it's more important to just focus on not getting hit and slowing down than it is to actually hit the boost. And as long as you do that, you're home free.
And we are about to enter, after this, the final subchapter of the entire game with a very interesting skip.
Yeah, those of you who've played this casually, if you've seen the ending, you know about the long walking section of meditation that she has before the final performance of the game. And yeah, we broke that wide open. So it turns out that when you start this section, you start slightly in the air coming out of the cutscene. And while you're in the air in this section, you don't lose control of your character, because what this does, it's a forced walking section. So while you're on the ground, you have to walk, and it's really slow. But while you're in the air, you can jump dash, you can buffer ground dashes out of it, and you can still jump out of those ground dashes. So what you're going to see him do is he's going to be spamming dash out of these cutscenes, and then he's going to fly through the doorway, and then he's going to go flying. He's going to platform all the way to the end. Here he goes.
This section is so much harder than it looks. If you spend just like that, if you spend a little too much time on the ground, and I'm talking like milliseconds, then
Let's
he's gonna instantly revert to very nice, very nice. He's in here before we even see it.
Let's go, dude.
You spend any time on the ground at all, you're going to get put into the walking
that was world record,
animation.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
was, like,
very
easy
nice.
world record,
Sub
I can tell.
150 or what?
No.
No, sub
I
150.
assume that means I should be pausing the timer.
Right now,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Sorry, that was a 152 even in-game time.
So when they kiss, that's when the timer actually stops. But since the stream delay, he was a little bit ahead. So, but that's okay. Yeah, that's roughly
152 flats. That's
Shuffling.
crazy. You're
Very
crazy.
nice. Very nice.
Oh man, what a run!
Yeah, that was a beautiful run. And that's a new world record for It Takes Two solo co-op.
That's
Heck
awesome.
yeah.
Were you local
Absolutely
recording?
Incredible.
I was not. No.
Okay. Well,
It's
we need a FTLG to highlight it for you.
oh
We will be highlighting all of the runs
Sick.
on Twitch, and then we will also be uploading them to YouTube as well. So I'll just quickly put the socials in chat. If you want to follow the YouTube, that way you can see when we get them all uploaded, and then we will send out the links in the runners chat to
awesome.
everything.
That's awesome.
It'll probably take like a week-ish for it all to happen, but I can prioritize this one. That's okay.
Nice.
I'm pretty sure the Twitch VOD will be highlighted. I'm pretty sure like in a day, probably.
All right.
So, yeah.
Sweet.
Perfect.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity. Kind of crazy that we have 8,500 people here. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'd highly encourage you to try out this game, It Takes Two. It's a really, really good game. I highly recommend it, and I'm sure anyone in the community would also say the same thing. Speaking of the community, if you want to check out our Discord for It Takes Two speedrunning, it's on the speedrun.com page for It Takes Two, so you should be able to find it that way. Thanks again for the opportunity. This was awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks,
and like
heaps
anybody
again.
who saw this and they like think that they would be worth running, like it's even if you don't have a partner, like we said earlier in the run, like there is a friend pass version of this game that is free, and you can play with anybody who owns the game. Most of the people in the speedrun server, I'd say probably 90 to 95% of us actually own the game. So we have a find a partner channel and stuff like that you can join in. You can just run with whoever. A lot of us run with pretty much anyone who's available. It's a good time. We really like having you guys in. We like showing you guys the ropes and stuff. It's a fun game. It's really fun movement. It's all around. Just yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, next up we have Hippienator with Superliminal All Collectibles Flight Stick. So stick around for that one. Coming up very soon. Thank you all for being here. If you would like to, do It Takes Two, speedrun.com website, It Takes Two, and join the Discord.
Heck
We'll be
yeah.
back soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.